We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
Well, good morning, everybody. The NFL preview show on the Sports Box, the one and only. I am one of the many phenomenal guests here at the Sports Box. I am Hamilton Mike, along with my partners in crime, Brian the Ranger Attar, Tony Quigley, and Brandon Gazzaro. What's up, boys?
Gentlemen, good morning. I see you're all still wearing your Halloween costumes. You look very scary today.
Yes, I am a Hamiltonian today.
Brandon,
what are you going as today?
I guess Tom Brady, as I always seem to go as.
Very nice. Very nice. So we got a lot of
them on earlier to the show, but you guys didn't wear it. So, I mean, I figured.
Technically Halloween's over, but that's all right.
I mean, but Atard comes in as a depressed Rangers fan, as always.
Where's my ping pong ball?
Oh, geez, just don't get them started. Anyway, there is
nothing depressing about Ranger hockey right now. So
speaking of ping pong balls,
rundown on the slate today. We got a full slate. We got some weather going on in some certain places. We will talk all about that. But first, Brian will give you a little knowledge on CrowdPlay.
Welcome to Sunday Pregame on the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Check out the CrowdPlay app on Apple App Store, Google Play. You can win cash and prizes by predicting the outcome and trivia questions regarding both real and virtual sporting events. It is totally free to play, $0, but you can win quite a bit. Use our code THEBOX at sign up. Get 10 free points to get started off on the right foot. They actually have a big event going on around the Monday night game this week, so check the guys out. We love what they do, and they're big supporters of us as well.
Hey, who's on Monday night this week? Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nobody.
Anyway,
your quarterback's not played well against that team career, so I'd be a little,
That's okay. He's playing well right now, so I'm just happy that we're playing good. So, anyway, we will get into it. Brian, where do you want to start?
Well, I definitely want to kick off with the Thursday night game because I think this is actually, pretty newsworthy. At the end of the day, the Atlanta Falcons had about a 98% chance to win a game with a lead in the fourth quarter, and they did, which is extremely uncharacteristic of the Atlanta Falcons if you follow this team going back a couple of years. A 25-17 win over the Carolina Panthers. Really, at the end there, it looked kind of tenuous, but the Falcons were able to pick off Teddy Bridgewater late, seal the victory. And I want Brandon, I know we've talked about the Falcons and their propensity to lose in catastrophic fashion quite a bit on this show. They finally held on for a win here. So just your takeaways from that and really a pretty cooling off Panthers team the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, if there's any such thing as a bad win in football, I think this is a bad win for the Falcons. They didn't look particularly good. This is a team to me that needs to rebuild and completely retool this thing. I don't think they're ever going to win anything with Matt Ryan and the current state of this franchise. So, I mean, they're a team that needs to be looking for the NFL draft. If I'm a fan of that team, I'm rooting for them to lose every week. Obviously, the players don't feel that way, but this is a team, if I were Atlanta, I'd be looking to move off of Matt Ryan. He plays well when he plays against, bad teams, but he has a propensity not to be able to win the big games. Carolina, to me, has really fallen off after they got off to a surprisingly 3-2 start. But they missed Christian McCaffrey. And for a couple of weeks there without McCaffrey, it was, well, maybe Mike Davis is just as good. No, he's not. It's not even close. They missed Christian McCaffrey. They need him back. But I mean, this was a pretty ugly game all around. But in the end, Atlanta, they have Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and they were able to win.
Tony.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on Brandon's point a little bit, yeah, he did. Is it a bad win? I guess. NFL players aren't really going to go out there and tank, especially guys like Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. Is it a win that they could have been better off without? I mean, listen, it's a win that the Panthers need. I think this whole game changed when Teddy Bridgewater got hurt for a little bit. PJ Walker is a great story that hasn't really gotten much love in the NFL circles this year, especially nationally. Kid from Mike's favorite team, Temple. But Matt Rule, he went in there, and and they just kind of missed the beat, big step backwards. So when you're looking at this game, it's a game that could have catapulted the Panthers into actually some respectability, which they had at 3-3. Now they fell 2 games. It's a game that you're kind of like, well, the Falcons won, not surprised about it, but at the same time, they really didn't need to. What was really telling you, I don't know if you guys saw the post-game interview with Michael Irving interviewing Julio Jones about the trade rumors. I know we're going to touch into that a little bit, but he did kind of directly ask him if he still wanted to be there and along that line. And Julio, he said, yeah, he did, but at the same time, he really wasn't a hard no. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that moving forward.
Mike, both of these teams are in your division. They're both pretty well below where the Buccaneers are right now. Just kind of your read on anything that you see coming, I guess, from the bottom, because I think at this point we can safely say there's the haves and have-nots in the South. It hasn't always been that way. There's always been this, teams change up and down every year. But I think in this case, there's 2 teams that have a shot and 2 teams that are pretty much dead in the water.
Yeah, and I think the Panthers, like Brandon said, hurt themselves with McCaffrey getting hurt. That's kind of set them back a little bit. Then you talk about McCaffrey. I mean, he adds a whole different dimension to that Panthers team. Unfortunately,
whoa! Look who makes an appearance.
Michael Z. What's up, Mike? The Panthers, with Teddy Bridgewater throwing an interception again in the triple coverage into that game for the second straight week. He's not a Drew Brees type. He's a good quarterback, and like Tony said, it did hurt when he went out for a little bit, even a little bit of time. When McCaffrey comes back, you think the Panthers will get better. I'm not really concerned with the Panthers this year. They might be the 4 seed in that. And Atlanta, it's a shame because their offense is doing well. I mean, Gurley, I think, has 8 touchdowns already, and their offense is clicking. But problem is their defense is bad, and you can't have this team getting into shootouts like they're not a Saints team that they can hang with teams in shootouts. I mean, they beat a Panthers team that, is not that good to begin with. So I'm not really too worried about these teams. I am worried about the Saints. I said the Saints could win this division. I kind of still think they can if they get Michael Thomas back. But listen, the Bucs are playing well right now. You got to give Bucs a little respect. They're playing well. They're bringing Antonio Brown in next week, so it's going to be interesting.
Mike Velarde joins a Sunday show for the first time, I think, ever in the millennium.
It must be because we fell back like an hour, right? Is that what happened?
No, we're good. We're good. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Mike?
Too many Cowboys fans on here, so I had the guy to even it out.
We're talking Thursday night. Just your reaction to the Falcons actually winning when they had a lead. Yeah. And B, is there anything? Are these teams all dead right now, or can somebody actually find a way into a 7th seed?
I think the Panthers are just bad. They stink. Falcons, I mean, Matt Ryan, I watched a little bit of the game. I mean, listen, Matt Ryan has the pieces. He has Julio. I mean, he was all over him, especially when Calvin Ridley went out. But, Gurley, I mean, what is Gurley right now? I mean, he ended up getting hurt during the game as well. I mean, is he the back he was with the Rams? I don't really think so. But, the Falcons' defense just seems like they're not very good. The Panthers without McCaffrey, I don't know. Bridgewater, I don't really think he's that good, in my personal opinion. I think he's more of a game manager, and both teams just stink. I don't like both teams at all.
But Mike, I think what you're saying, you call him Bridgewater a game manager. I mean, I think if you look at the NFL and how it's going today, game managers are winning more football games. Yeah. It's like let's not make the big mistake. Let's just manage the game and shoot ourselves in the foot. And while guys like Baker Mayfield and stuff like that throw the ball around the field, that Kirk Cousins another one, they're really hurting themselves. So that game manager, I don't think it's a bad thing to be in the NFL.
No, I agree with that.
And to the Gurley point too, I think he looks cooked. He just doesn't have the explosiveness we saw early in his career. And he had 18 carries for 46 yards. I mean, he averaged 2.7 yards a carry. I mean, he did score a touchdown, but to me, he just looks totally shot.
He might not be the same guy, Brandon, but you can't brush over. He's got 8 touchdowns this year, so he's getting it done in close. I mean, that's maybe he's a different kind of back now. He's not the same back he was with the Rams. He's a different kind of back. He does have 8 touchdowns. He leads the NFL, so I mean, you got to give him some respect.
He's an opportunist back. He's not a feature back.
Yeah, the fantasy owners are happy.
Yes.
They were happy. They were happier than he was that he got in the end zone last week against the Lions. Okay, that much. I just said both of these teams, and I said it before. Carolina was a very compelling landing spot for Trevor Lawrence. I think they've kind of played their way out of that. the last couple of weeks when they were able to win games without McCaffrey. When he went down, I'm pretty sure they were 0-2 at the time, and it really felt like that was the direction they were going, knowing how important he has been to them. And I think it's a credit to the coaching staff and Matt Rule in his first half a year there. They were able to put some wins together despite losing their primary player. But at this point, I don't know where you go because they're not good enough to win. Apparently, they're not bad enough to lose. So they're in purgatory in a bad way. And Bridgewater's not the long-term answer. He's only signed for a couple more years. They need a solution there. And a lot of these wins, again, Brandon, you said it. It's not that the players want to lose, but you can say as an analyst, as a commentator, as a sports fan, hey, you're better off losing these games, and here's why, which we'll talk about why the Dallas Cowboys are in the same boat. But at the end of the day, both of these teams have long-term question marks for different reasons. For Atlanta's, I think it's because whatever window they had is reaching its end very, very, very quickly here because the players are getting old. They're under big contracts. The cap's a problem. For Carolina, it was a full-fledged rebuild after Cam left. But listen, Falcons get a win. I mean, if you're a Falcons fan, at least I guess it's something to, pump your chest about. There's been a lot of angst in Atlanta and Georgia sports lately. So I guess you take it where you can get it. Tuesday is a big day in the United States. Go vote. We don't care for who. But there's also a big day in the NFL. It is the trading deadline. So I want to go around the room here as to what teams should be selling, what teams should be buying, and frankly, what should they be selling and buying. And I want to pose this question to Velarde first, since he's making his debut on the Sunday show in forever.
Sheesh.
The big thing to me, if I could pick one deal to make, it would be the Green Bay Packers acquiring a wide receiver. And there's about 4 of them in Houston that are available, probably at different prices. Probably Will Fuller, the most expensive one. But after they went through the draft, decided not to go wide receiver, didn't trade that pick for a wide receiver, took a backup quarterback. We can discuss that at length. It seems like it's a bit of a buyer's market right now. That's the feeling that I get. I think Green Bay is primed to add a secondary wide receiver that they don't really have right now. Houston might be a team that they should go look for.
I will sell Alshon Jeffrey to somebody.
Someone's got to buy it.
Huh?
Someone's got to be a buyer, too.
Well, I know, but I just read an article. They said that Ertz and Deshaun were going to be traded if they weren't hurt. So that kind of really screwed the Eagles over. But, as far as the Packers, what are they – Devontae Adams is obviously their clear-cut number one. What else are they looking for? What type of player is going to be out there for them? Do you think that they would take a shot at an Alshon Jeffrey for cheap?
No. I don't think anything
is way too low on the bar, though, Mike. I think Alshon Jeffrey, that's that. And that really doesn't even complement. I think if the Packers are looking to get a receiver, I think it should be somebody that complements Devontae Adams, somebody who could stretch the field, bring it down. They have guys like Valdez Scantling and these other characters. Listen, if I'm the Packers, I shoot big. I mentioned Julio a little bit ago. I'll go with Julio. They already wasted a first-round pick last year. I don't remember them, hitting too much else.
What are you going to get for him, though? What do you have to give up to get him?
Listen, you're going to have to pay a high price.
You're taking his money too, right?
They pretty much flushed their first-round pick this year down the toilet. So at least maybe try to get something for next year's with Julio or maybe even somebody maybe second round. I don't know what the value is. The NFL trade value is and Mark is extremely weird, especially when it comes to wide receivers. Tradable contracts, stuff like that, but. I think Alshon wouldn't be a good fit, but I think a speedster. You mentioned Will Fuller, or you mentioned the Houston guys, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, who's been traded a billion times anyway. That might be a little bit more foot to complement Devontae Adams.
And Houston again. I know Mike Ralston said he wouldn't give you a ham sandwich for Alshon Jeffrey, which again, a ham sandwich much more of a killer than Alshon Jeffrey if you remember your music history. And Mark Scotti, noted Eagles fan, Alshon contract $9 million guaranteed. Team wouldn't pay half that, and I completely agree. I think he's one of the guys in the league with negative value. You couldn't get rid of him if you wanted to. Couldn't give him away if you wanted to. You couldn't package a pick with him to move him.
Well, the problem is he hasn't played either. So people don't even know if he's out.
They've been trying to move him now for 2 years, and no one wants him because no one wants the contract.
I think you guys are also missing the point that I don't think Alshon Jeffrey is really one of these premier receivers. He's been a compiler and he's made some big catches and he has a good catch rate. But I don't think if you actually, even since he left Chicago, when he was with Chicago, true number one receiver has always been a question mark with him. His heyday, his best years, he had Brandon Marshall against him. across from him, who was a true number one receiver. So I think the roding skills, the injury, and let's not forget he did. He's been the source of some animosity, I guess, in that locker room. I mean, all the shots and stuff towards Wentz have been kind of attributed to Alshon. So when you're looking at Alshon, you have to look at the total package. I mean, he's one of these headache wide receivers that you kind of see floating around the NFL.
It is a very bad restructure last year. Michaeletta, I've on Highly Opinionated, I think I might have said it no less than a dozen times that Tampa Bay should be trading their one for something right now, based on the fact that their window with Tom Brady is literally 2 years, and he's not going to be there after that. And I think after that, there's like the day after tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Like, you're focused on right now. You know your team better than anybody on the panel right now. If you were going to move that one, number one, what would you move it for? What's your best position of need? And two, given the fact that the defense has played so much better than you would have ever thought, you've been extremely critical of their secondary for a couple of years now. It's playing very, very well. Mm-hmm. Is there anything out there that they should go get?
I'll tell you, Brian, right now, I mean, I'd love for the Bucs to make another move, but really, like you said, they're playing well together. The linebackers are playing great. The secondary is young, and they're playing good together. The D-line has been good, considering the last couple of years. The offensive line, maybe they've upgraded a little bit on the offensive line in the draft. Maybe you go after another offensive lineman, add a little depth. I don't know about giving a one-up for that, but, I mean, you got wide receivers. You're bringing in Antonio Brown now to see how that goes. Ron Jones has been playing better than I thought. I really wouldn't go anywhere with the Bucs right now, to be honest with you. I'd see how this all plays out. They're playing at a good level now. The two teams I was looking at, though, for a team buying is probably the Pittsburgh Steelers. As crazy as that sounds, they're 7-0. They need somebody, I think, to replace Devin Bush, who's gone for the year. I think that would be a good spot for them, maybe to bring in a linebacker to shore up that defense a little bit more. I mean, they're playing well, but I think somebody to bring in for him would kind of steady the stop there. And in the way of selling, it's got to be the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, that ship sailed. They look terrible this year. And if you can get something for Thielen, maybe move one of the running backs. I know you just signed, Cook, but if you can, I don't think, the quarterback's going to be there next year. That's a bad situation too. You got a lot of pieces in Minnesota that could probably get moved, and you got to blow that team up eventually. So why not start now?
Well, they moved Ngakoue, who they actually just got from Jacksonville because of the way the year has gone. I mean, and they joined the Cowboys in moving out guys who were, in case Everson Griffin a free agent acquisition, in the case of Ngakoue a trade. So I guess you're kind of seeing a little bit of those teams kind of show their hands as to what they're going to do. Tony, as the fellow Cowboys fan on the board, I was not surprised Everson Griffin went. I was not surprised Terry Poe was cut.
And Darryl Worley.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else you can let from this team, but they're walking into Philadelphia tonight with Ben DiNucci at quarterback. We can discuss that later. I don't think they're a buyer. I don't know if they necessarily want to be a seller, but I don't think they're really going anywhere this year. So if we were playing tank or no tank,
it's hard to sell broken toys. It's hard to sell damaged goods, and that's pretty much what the Cowboys have right now. Dontario Poe was overweight. Worley had no trade value. These guys are not. Everson Griffin was traded, just was a complete erosion of skills from everything that I reported. Not, bad fit. It was actually, I was a little bit more surprised who he went to. The Lions are buyers now. That's a little weird. But at the same time, what does the Cowboys have that other teams want? I really don't know. I don't think there's anything there. I think there's too banged up, too many injuries, to actually even be a viable. But maybe one of the receivers. Are you going to get rid of Gallup at some point? Are you going to get rid of Cooper at some point? I mean, because right now with no quarterback throwing to them, and their value is down. But if you, like we mentioned earlier, you put Gallup on the Packers to take the top off it, that's an interesting fit right there. What he would be worth, if they have, if he could re-sign with them, you're looking at maybe a good fit. But other than that, I can't really see that they have much to offer.
I think, though, given the salary cap ramifications and what they're looking at next year, potentially franchising Prescott again, the money's not there. I'd have to go look and see what they would actually have in dead cap. But I think that if anybody's going to be moved at receiver, it's Amari Cooper, because you have to clear money. If you're in a position now where you're going to franchise a quarterback again, I think that's pretty much a fait accompli, because there's no deal. They're not going to let him go now. So they're going to give him the $37 million or whatever the cap number is next year. You don't have that in space, and there aren't really a lot of guys you can walk away from. So, if they can go get something of value, of significant value for a guy like Amari Cooper, I think you have to look at that, because now it's one more year out of this deal. And we all thought that there was a point in this contract, I want to say it was after year 2, that they were going to cut him anyway because of the way the contract was set up, that they could get out of it and it wouldn't be much of a cap hit. That at this point, you're not going anywhere this year. Lamb has played well and where he's played. If you give some money to Gallup, he's there. You have 2 guys. I think you might be forcing your own hand there.
Yeah, next year Cowboys only have a $3 million dead cap.
No, right. What I'm saying is, if they were to move Cooper, what would that be against the cap? There's going to be some sort of ramification to a trade.
28 million dead cap for Amari Cooper, as per Sport Track.
Yeah, he's not going to get moved.
Awesome.
No.
Yeah. Awesome. So I mean, that's the thing too. Like, so if we talked about receivers earlier, and their trade value is now Amari Cooper is much more talented than some of these receivers that might get traded this week. But with that dead cap and the salary cap in general, he might go for far less than what a lesser talented receiver goes. And it's a little weird market out there. And it's actually kind of funny. I remember the years and years and years. The NFL trade deadline meant absolutely nothing. There never was a trade. It was just kind of like it didn't happen. Now teams are getting a little bit more creative and they're more willing to work deals with each other.
Yeah. Mike Ralston, the Texans fan, fully worth a second-round pick to a team like Green Bay, even for half a year where Rodgers is at in his career. Take the top off of defense. And then I guess to Mike, if the Bucs offered a 1 for JJ, they'd probably take it. I don't know that I do that at this point in Watt's career.
No, because you have Watt for what, 2 or 3 more years, maybe tops.
Well, Watt fits that mold of the guys that Tampa Bay has been going after, which are the vet. Like, they're basically playing like Madden 12. Like, they're getting guys that were very good 5-6 years ago that are veterans now that could play a role there. I mean, again, I am not opposed to Houston trading J.J. Watt. I think it's probably in their best interest to do that. He is a cap problem as well. It's a big number. But I think it's hard to ask for a 1 if the cap space is there. Listen, I mean, J.J. Watt's never had a chance to really play for a true contender. So from the standpoint of some of these guys you root for and say, I'd love to have him see him have a shot, I would hate to see him go into Tampa or a couple of other teams. But he's
you give up a 1 though for J.J. Watt, because you do have Pierre Paul on the edge and you still have Sue on the edge for this year. So to bring J.J. in for another 2 or 3 years, like you said, Brian, you're extending the cap. I know it's a win now, but I don't know if you give up a 1 for J.J. Watt at this time in his career. 4 years ago, absolutely, I'd do it. So,
well, 4 years ago, you get multiple for him.
Yeah. I think the one player we've mentioned it before, Brian. I know you mentioned it. Jalen Ramsey, a corner, would be a need for Tampa Bay. There's one guy out there that we've heard about potentially getting moved, and that's Stephon Gilmore. If there was one guy Tampa Bay goes after, it would be Stephon Gilmore. But here's the one caveat to that: Bill Belichick ain't trading Tom Brady another player. Tom Brady gets Stephon Gilmore, he's winning a ring. Bill Belichick is not doing that, though. It is the one place that makes a ton of sense for Gilmore. Yeah. They would give up a 1 for him, and maybe there is another team who would do that. Yeah. It would just have to be, would Bill do it, because you're basically handing Tom Brady another ring elsewhere. Good point.
And Gilmore's an interesting point too, because he's out this week, this week, and I think you're going to see, it's a very convenient injury for when the trade deadline is upon us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Garth Patrick hosts the Sweet Tea. One to keep an eye on is Desmond King of the Chargers. Rumored trade target off and on for months. Now they're swirling again. Sitting out this week, not injury related. That is something of interest. And then Ryan Leach, who is a Bills fan, he's biased, but Watt would be perfect for Buffalo right now.
They could use a pass rush.
Mm-hmm. Is it of the team? I mean, I think I mentioned about the Cowboys that they should be selling, probably not a lot to sell. Brandon, should the Patriots be selling off, though? I mean, there was the rumor of Gilmore, yes, but are there really any guys who, if they decide, again, we don't know what next year holds for this team, but the Pats are normally one of these teams that tend to make pretty smart trades for the most part. You can only pick and choose a couple that you can say, that really didn't work out, like the Mohamed Sanu deal, for example, where they didn't really get full value, but they trade well as a general rule. I mean, other than a guy like Gilmore, this is feeling more and more like the wheels have fallen off for New England, and it could end poorly. Anybody that you see that they could find some value for?
The only other option I would have said would be Julian Edelman to a wide receiver needy team. He's a guy who's getting up there in age. He's struggling with the drops recently, but he's now on IR, so that's not going to happen. It really just looks like Gilmore's the only guy. With the 8 opt-outs, some of those guys, Patrick Chung, Dante Hightower, I think you might have been able to move one of those players, but there's just nothing there to move. I mean, James White, I don't know how much value he even has. There's not a lot there. Devin McCourty, both McCourtys are there, but there's not a whole lot of options and whole lot of talent to move. Certainly that's going to bring you back anything. Gilmore is the one valuable piece, but I don't know how many teams are going to be willing to give up a first-round pick for him other than Tampa Bay. I mean, you keep bringing that one up. I think that was a really interesting case just because of the need, the willingness to give up the pick, and there's the caveat there of Brady is in Tampa Bay and Will Belichick trade him there. But to me, it's really just Gilmore.
And it hasn't hurt Tampa, but I was surprised they weren't in early in the offseason on Ramsey when there might have been a shot at getting him before the Rams kind of figured out they weren't as bad as people thought that they were going to be. I was very surprised the Rams were not in on Jamal Adams, who went to Seattle. That would be a nice fit for them too. They really should have been on a couple of these guys, Tony.
Yeah, well, I think the list of players that the Patriots have available is a little bit more than just Stephon Gilmore. That's because you brought up Hightower quickly. I don't know what the rule is if they're able to trade him while he's sitting out, because that could bring some value long-term to a team like, who's actually looking to solidify the defense. And, since he's missing this season, it might be a little bit cheaper. But the other name that I see popping up a lot is Chase Winovich, defensive end linebacker hybrid, very young, talented player. And I think him fitting, a team like the Steelers or something like that, it was a defensive team would be, bring some value to them.
But if you're New England, he's one of your younger players. I believe he was a 3rd-round pick just last year, 2019 draft. Is he a guy that you would be willing to move off of? I mean, they really don't have any young, talented players. I'm not sure if I'm New England, I'd be willing to move off of that.
Well, if you don't have too many young, talented players, you might want to trade him for draft assets so you could acquire more young, talented players. So if you invest a 3rd-round pick to him, if you could get back a 2nd or 3rd-round pick or a 3rd and a 4th-round pick or something like that, then you're just stockpiling later. Having that one good, I hate to bring this up, but look what the Jets are trying to do with Quinnen Williams. I mean, Quinnen Williams is a phenomenal defensive lineman, but they're still trading him. Jamal Adams was traded. I mean, these guys, listen, they stink. They only have 3 people that are decent on their team, young talent, and that's what they get. But sometimes when you're looking to move and acquire assets, you have to give up something.
But that's, what, you bring up a real good point, Mike. I want to get to you too, but why would the Jets move from Quinnen Williams? And I say that because he's still under team control for a couple of more years. He's a very young player, very good player. And you see some of the deals that Jamal Adams was traded for 2 1s that are probably going to be anywhere from 24 to 32, realistically, right? So you're giving up the fifth pick in the draft for basically, call it 24 and 28.
What's 3rd pick?
No, I'm talking about Jamal Adams. So Jamal Adams, in a normal draft year, I don't think any team would trade down necessarily from 5 to get a 24 and a 28, right? So why do that now? If anything, Williams can be part of the solution. So, I get Jamal Adams because they weren't going to sign him or they couldn't sign him. I get that piece. With Williams, I think that makes even less sense. If you're just blowing it up for the sake of blowing it up and you really want to start over and you're on this perpetual rebuild with the Jets, that is what it is. But if you trade a guy like Quinnen Williams, then you're hoping that you can go draft somebody who basically could become Quinnen Williams. I don't think that really makes a lot of sense.
What about a guy like, I know he's been in talks like Hassan Reddick getting moved, because I know Arizona said that they wanted to move him. They don't really have a spot for him to play on the defense. That's what they keep popping up with. That's a younger player. I know he's out of Temple, but another younger player that they say, I mean, he was in talks for Ertz and a pick. So I know that was a hot topic for him to get traded.
And there's certainly a need to move him there with drafting Isaiah Simmons.
Right.
So, I mean, they have a guy who can slide right in. Lane
Johnson is now questionable for tonight.
It's not going to matter.
He was not on the injury report Friday, but now he is today.
It's not going to matter.
Brian, going back to what your point is with Jamal Adams and Quinnen Williams and guys like that, when you give up a player, especially a player like Jamal Adams, which is great. He was a talented player, but he went to Seattle and hasn't really done nothing even when he did play. He had a couple big hits and made some headlines, and he's been hurt. Safety position in the NFL right now, if you can't cover, it kind of, and how the rules are, it kind of degraded the value of it. A player like Quentin Williams, on the other hand, pass rushing linebacker and everything like that, he's somebody that you would like to build around. But if you just don't have anything around them, it's like having, one little dam trying to break a flood of bullshit, and that's coming out of New York Jets. You got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of them to get, fortify everything.
Last question. Go ahead.
So the one player that I think could possibly be on the move that no one's mentioned is Ryan Kerrigan. He's a guy who's up there in age, but truly one of the better pass rushers in the sport for the last eight or so years. I think a team like Seattle, even though they just traded for a pass rusher, could be a team that would be a great fit there. Any thoughts on Ryan Kerrigan getting moved? Because to me, he's a guy, if I'm a contender, I'd be interested in Ryan Kerrigan, and there's a reason to move him. They just drafted Chase Young.
And that could be a Buffalo move.
His name's popped up a lot. I've seen too. The last couple of weeks is Ryan Kerrigan. He's been all the ultimate professional. The glue to that line. I don't know if the Redskins right now have a clear path of what direction they want to go with. I mean, I think they're still in flux with the quarterback change and just kind of left with a bunch of nonsense that cancer-free Ron Rivera has is trying to clear up. So Kerrigan would be a great contender to move. To where, we'll see.
Last question on this one I want to give to Tony. So from a Cowboys perspective, will they or should they go after a quarterback for the rest of this year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know we've had other discussions about the quarterback situation for Dallas Cowboys. Behind that offensive line, I mean, Matt Ryan was one of the names that was discussed, and Fitzpatrick, I think, was mentioned in the comments earlier here today. For what? I mean, why give up an asset to put behind that offensive line just to get killed? So they could win a 7-8 win max division title. I mean, it really doesn't help anything. Throw Ben DiNucci out there, see what he could do. Don't give up any future assets for a stopgap solution. It just doesn't make sense. And the big offseason move by the Cowboys, besides being idiots and hiring the wrong coaching staff, is bringing in Andy Dalton, the quote unquote best backup in the league. He's only out with a concussion protocol. It's not like a season ending injury or anything like that. So he's going to be back. Give DiNucci the reins for a week or two, see what happens. You might catch lightning in a bottle and don't give up any future assets. So absolutely not. That's just full-hearted fantasy football talk by some moron name that should remain nameless, who has a hard-on for Matt Ryan and anything Matt Ryan associated.
I think I know who that is, but
we all know who. Yeah, we don't speak his name on this show.
What do you want? What do you want to give him to drink?
Antifreeze. On the rocks. Let's get started with the slate of games, Brandon. I know you're going to have some thoughts on this one. So, the New England Patriots at 2-4. I feel like that's something that I would never come out of my mouth. But they're the New England Patriots 2-4, and they are visiting the 5-2 Buffalo Bills. The Bills are laying 4 in this one. The over/under is 40.5. New England wide receivers have 1 receiving touchdown. That is the fewest in the NFL. Buffalo is a bit of a, I don't want to use the word paper tiger because I think they're still a good team, but they have not played well against teams that made the playoffs last year. 0-2 against 2019 playoff teams, 5-0 against teams that did not make the playoffs last year. However, it's true the Pats made the playoffs last year. This ain't the same Pats as last year. So, Patriots apologist, Brandon Gazzara, your thoughts going into this one?
I believe I saw a stat that this is the first time that they're underdogs in the last 25 games versus the AFC East team. So they take that.
Yeah, Bill Belichick's 57-65 in his career as a head coach without Tom Brady. I'm going to keep harping on it because it's true. He's 8 games under 500 without him.
Agree.
So this idea that this team was going to be a good team this year, and they had 8 opt-outs. The Patriots are not a good football team. They have no offensive weapons. 3 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Cam Newton,
Brandon. No offensive line. They have Cam Newton.
He stinks.
The internet went crazy because Cam Newton's bad.
There it is.
All right, so with those 8 opt-outs that you just said, where would they be without those 8 opt-outs?
2-4.
2-4, you think still?
at best 3-3. It's not a good
Listen,
team.
none of
They
those
have
out.
no offensive firepower. They don't. It's
Sure.
not like they had a wide receiver or a tight end that was that opted out. I mean, it's not a good football team. Buffalo, Josh Allen does struggle against Bill Belichick's defense. Been really bad. In
Tom Brady was
early on in his career.
Right.
They won those games last year against Buffalo, really with their defense. And in the second game, Brady, played. That was his best game last year. Was the second Buffalo game at home. He played well in that one, but I don't think the Patriots have much of a chance in this game. They just don't have the offensive firepower. And I don't think this idea that Belichick is just going to win because Belichick's going to show up and win, it's just nonsense, and it's never been true.
Mike, you are the new holder of Tom Brady, for better or for worse. And to Brandon's point, the Pats have now scored 12 points or fewer in 3 straight weeks for the first time since weeks 8 through 10 of 1993, which is so far ago, they hadn't even won the cup yet, and I was 9 years old. So, we've had these Brady versus Bill discussions. Brady seems to be fine in Tampa, and Bill seems to be floundering in New England, maybe by design. But, Mike, this offense is not good.
No, they're not good. But for a weird situation today, I kind of like the Patriots, believe it or not, in this game. I just think Buffalo is going to struggle against this defense for the Patriots, who's not a bad defense. I mean, they're not horrible out there. I think they slow down Buffalo a little bit. And if you look at a couple stats I looked up, Buffalo is 1-3-1 against the spread in their last 5 versus the AFC East, and 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 against the AFC. So that doesn't bode well for them as well. And the Patriots are 8-0 against the spread in their last 8 games in Week 8, and 18-3 in their last 21 games on turf. So just by the trends and just by some of that stuff, I think the Patriots could have a bounce back game. I don't think Cam's going to go nuts.
How many
throw the ball over the field.
Mike, how many of those 8-0 against the spread in Week 8 was Cam Newton the quarterback and not Tom Brady?
It's true. It's true. I just think they have a bounce back game. I think it's a grind out running back game, back and forth a little bit. It's supposed to rain up there too. So, I mean, I like the Patriots with 3.5. They might not even win the game, but I just like the Patriots with the points.
I don't know.
The weather will be a factor. It's supposed to be raining.
This game is going to be, I think we mentioned a little bit, similar to the Denver game. It's going to be an ugly game. Buffalo with Josh Allen, he makes mistakes, but he also makes some phenomenal plays. Cam Newton makes a ton of mistakes. Phenomenal plays have been a little bit few and far between recently. So this game, I expect that. This game is going to have to win by defense and playing better football. But at the end of the day, offensively, Bills are a better team. They're playing for more. They have more focus. They're home. I think a lot of that has a factor into even if Josh Allen struggles or plays poorly, which he'll probably do at some point, make a dumb mistake. I think he's still on the upswing, and Cam Newton is cratering, down the earth after a couple weeks of a hot start. Like we said, offensively, they were figured out already, and you don't have the weapons. And you can add New England Patriots and N'Keal Harry and their fans as one of the people who are still crying about not drafting DK Metcalf.
I'll give you a stat. Gronkowski has as many receiving touchdowns in the last 2 weeks with 2 as the Pats tight ends have had in the 2 seasons since he's left.
It's incredible. And they're probably both the Ryan Izzo.
Probably.
Just not very good.
Now,
how about
Go ahead.
How about the Patriots wide receivers today? Jacoby Myers and Gunnar Olszewski.
Strong.
I mean, that's just Carey and Edelman are out. And
Gunnar Olszewski's
tight end situation.
And Jacoby Myers is, I believe that's a law firm.
It's bad.
One thing I think changes today due to the fact it's going to be an ugly game is that the Bills are the only team in the league to not have a single player with a 75-plus rushing yard game. If Singletary is ever going to take hold of that job and run with it, I think it has to be a day like today. And again, this needs to be a game where if they just run it down the Pats' throat. I think they cover the 4 personally. I don't think, and I thought the Pats would beat Denver handily. Did not happen. My initial thought was that San Fran would win outright last week. Didn't bet it. Clearly that they did. This really looks like a team with not a lot going for them. The Bills want to put this team. The Bills have more reason to put this team away than anybody. We talk about putting like your foot on the throat. You don't want to give this team life. I don't care who's there. You don't want to give this team life.
Yeah,
it's going to speak volumes if Buffalo struggles and does not beat this team. This should be a statement game for Buffalo. They should be focused all eyes straight ahead to destroy this New England team and actually take that foothold, onto the division. This should definitely be a statement game in Week 8. And if they falter, you're going to have to start opening your eyes and kind of looking at them kind of like sideways. And I think it might even open up the door for a team like Miami Dolphins who are starting, to it or something even crazy, because now the division's just wide open if they don't look like they're a team that could play against New England.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, Brian.
Good.
I know you've been mentioning almost every single week on the show, the Bills have to show that they can dominate teams that they should dominate. And they've mostly done that to this point, but this is a game where New England's had the chokehold on this division since 2000. And this is a game that they need to win pretty convincingly to show that they are the new favorites in that division. I like Buffalo in this game. I do like them to win by a touchdown or more.
Are we a 3 Buffalo, 1 New England?
I like. Did I say the Patriots? I'm sorry. I like the Bills.
No, I said the Patriots.
Mike has the Patriots.
Mike had the pass. Now, again, you use the word the Belichick era in quotations with asterisks because, again, it's the Belichick and Brady era. Pats are 35-5 versus Buffalo since 2000. That is the best winning percentage by any team against one opponent, minimum of 10 games in that entire span. That's probably going to be 35-6 at the end of today. Staying in the AFC, the recently defeated Tennessee Titans at 5-1 visit the 1-5-1 Cincinnati Bengals. Titans laying 6.5 in this game. The over/under is 49.5. From the Tennessee standpoint, 5 of their 6 games have been 1-possession games. Cincinnati is the only team in the league with 3 losses when scoring 27 plus points. So you know what they're going to be addressing in next year's draft. Quig, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of DAP given to Justin Herbert, and with good reason. He's played very, very well, games that he's been the reason to even care about what the Chargers are doing. But Joe Burrow, the number 1 pick in this draft, has been very good for the Bengals. He has 300-plus passing yards, 5 of his last 6 games, and to that point, Tennessee has allowed at least 2 passing touchdowns in 5 straight. It looks like a good spot for him to put some points up.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, the over/under 49.5. I think Tennessee is a little misnomer about the strength of their defense because they have been allowing points, as you mentioned. Burrow has it. I mean, I'll tell you right now, Justin Herbert has have a lot of hype because he kind of like more surprise coming on the scene with the way he started. But when you're looking at it, I think it's going to be a big Derrick Henry day. The weather.
Whoa, hold on. Time out. I need a drink because I am so warmed by the take that I see on the screen right now.
Can I change my pick?
No.
I was waiting for that. I just placed a bet in for Buffalo. They easy win now. I mean, it's just
Screenshot. Save that for later. And then Jody Angelo Henry runs wild. They are running a lot, clearly.
That's the point I was going to break because I think this is another bad weather game. I think when I think it just kind of moved this, and rain and snow and stuff like that really don't affect the over under and offense as much as people want to realize. It's wind. Wind kills games. I think this is going to be another windy game. Tennessee play action offense, pound Henry. If Cincinnati without Joe Mixon, who's probably their best offensive player, doesn't have it. Listen, Gio Bernard's a nice back, but can he carry a load to actually beat a team like Tennessee? I don't really see it. Tennessee should run over Cincinnati here, especially in the bad weather with that power running game.
Yeah.
Mike,
go ahead.
One of the receivers, there's been a lot of talk about the receivers in this draft, CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, Rager, Jefferson, but somebody who doesn't really get a lot of play is T. Higgins, who went to Cincinnati at the top of the second round. He's on pace for 62 receptions this season. Only 2 Bengals rookies have ever had more than 60. That was Collinsworth and Green. So I think they're very happy with who's fallen to them at that spot. Higgins could have easily been a first-round pick. Now, I know I'm saying that as he was a first pick of the second round, but I mean, I think they're pretty happy with the tools that they've given Joe Burrow.
Well, actually, he's gotten more targets the last couple of weeks. He's getting more and more play. It seems to be a go-to guy for Burrow. But like Tony said, I think, Giovanni Bernard's a nice running back, but you're going to have to run the ball a bunch today with the weather going on. And I think that the strength of the Bengals is throwing the ball. I mean, Joe Burrow is throwing the ball a ton in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, and you got guys like Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and A.J. Green who can catch the ball. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be a ground attack for both teams today. And obviously, we know Derrick Henry's going to win that war. I think it's going to be, a low-scoring game, but Tennessee's going to be able to get the ball in the end zone with Henry all day long today, and the Bengals are just going to struggle. I like Tennessee in this game. I think it's set. I think it's 6.5 right now. Yeah, that's fine. I laid a touchdown. I think Tennessee pulls away late, but they don't have to score a ton in this game because I don't think the Bengals are going to do that much at all.
And you mentioned one name, Mike, A.J. Green, that we didn't mention about the trade targets. He's another trade target. The other guy, too, when you're talking about the Bengals getting the first-round pick or second-round pick and T. Higgins, let's not forget about the debacle that there was John Ross. He's been complaining and crying all week. He could probably be had for a 7th-round pick or something like that, and I don't even know if he's worth that at this point.
No, what a forgotten asset he is. Unbelievable.
He's been a healthy scratch. So, I mean, there are 2 other trade targets that A.J. Green does make sense, for a team looking at, and T. Higgins has been great, and so has Tyler Boyd. So, Bengals have a good future, but not Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, to the AJ Green point, I have AJ Green in 2 separate fantasy leagues, and I have a decision to make: AJ Green or Deontay Johnson, and AJ Green and Leonard Fournette. The last 2 weeks, AJ Green's averaging 7.5 catches per game. So, answer AJ Green or Deontay Johnson.
I like Deontay Johnson the 1. I think he's become the number 1 in Pittsburgh, which is a lamentation for Juju drafters, and I've always had questions about Juju. The other one, I think you can't possibly. The problem with the Buccaneers' backfield for fantasy purposes is you're always going to invariably start the wrong one. That's usually how it works, especially when you have both, like I do. So
I have both in that league too.
Yeah, but
I would keep Ron Jones in your lineup.
There's only one right answer, and that's Ron Jones. It's not Leonard Fournette. He has 1 game all year with a touchdown. Ron Jones
he gets 5, maybe 4 or 5 carries a game, mix-up time. So it's Ron Jones if you're going to start a guy in the backfield.
Yeah, so Deontay, I think you're head on with that, Brian. Is Deontay Johnson is one of the most? He's definitely the most explosive receiver in that offense. So and Big Ben likes him. So
guys, quick question coming in from one of my buddies in the fantasy league. He needs to start one flex player. He's got C.D. Lamb, T. Higgins, and Hollywood Brown.
I would go Brown, Higgins, Lamb.
I agree entirely. Yep.
Listen, you don't know what the news he's going to do with that offense right now. Even though CeeDee Lamb is the number 1 slot receiver in the NFL in yards, I think Hollywood Brown has just a bigger upside. Higgins is going to share the ball in that bad weather, so I'm going to go Hollywood Brown first, and then Higgins does have the best matchup against the defense. Yeah, I think weather factor and everything like that. Hollywood Brown, with a little caution.
Well, I think it's supposed to rain in Pittsburgh too, but no, I agree with you, Tony. Yep.
I think that I would probably go Brown. I can't start any receivers for Dallas with any kind. And it's crazy thinking about where they were, but you don't know what this is a 7th-round pick in his first game. I mean, I just don't think you can really expect a whole lot. Not that the Eagles' defense is anything to worry about. I don't think that it is.
But he's going to make mistakes. I mean, that he's not good at reading defenses yet. I mean, he's going to struggle this game. And they get off the ball too. The Eagles, they're going to chase him around today. So, he's not going to have time.
I was going to bring this point up too. When you're looking at slots and stuff like that, I mean, Eagles have been one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's where most of the guys do damage from. But at the same time, Nate Geary is out, so that might actually be a benefit.
Addition by subtraction. The only reason I think
Nickel Roby-Coleman has been the worst slot corner in the NFL, and CeeDee Lamb will be, matched up there. So Darius Slay on Amari Cooper, he's been excellent against Amari in his career. So you could see a lot of those targets going to CD. I would go Brown, Lamb, Higgins, just because of the matchup with Lamb.
In this game, again, Tennessee's going to win this game, but the Bengals can keep this one close because they can score quickly. I think the Bengals can cover the 6.5. And Tennessee, again, a lot of their games in 1-possession games. I know a touchdown is 1 possession, but something tells me I think the line is begging you to take Tennessee. So I will go with the Bengals. Justin Barker, fresh name. I haven't seen the name. Welcome to the show, sir. Fulgham, Woods, or Boyd in a 1-point PPR?
I would go Woods.
I would consider Fulgham.
I would consider Fulgham
with the matchup and
defensively.
Yeah, with the
Tyler
matchup,
Boyd.
and he's a guy that Wentz loves.
We're all different people. That's I guess
No.
where you're at,
No, I mean, listen. Listen, that's why he posted it. It's not an easy answer.
No.
I mean, Fulham against the Cowboys. I mean, wow, you have to love that matchup. But they do, have a little bit more people coming back. They spread the ball a little bit. I think Goddard's going to play tonight. So we'll see how that affects Fulham as well. Woods against Miami. Now, okay, now if Xavier Howard is playing Woods, then that's a horrible matchup because Xavier Howard is one of the best. But him and Zaire Alexander have kind of separated themselves in the defensive backs this year. So I would take that. Like you mentioned, O'Brien, is Tennessee can score. They're going to score. Boyd's going to get a lot. Boyd's the inside receiver. He plays outside at times. He's going to get a lot more work as almost like a true number one there in Cincinnati, and I expect them to be throwing a little bit. Fulham, best matchup. Boyd, best player.
Thielen and Jefferson. Well, I hope you're not a Vikings fan. It's been a bad year for you, but yeah, I mean, I guess that does make some sense.
I just mentioned Zaire Alexander, and and it's kind of funny. He brings this matchup up. Now, if you look at the Green Bay, I mean, we talked about how bad the weather is going to be. I like Adam Thielen as far as a bad weather receiver. He runs better precise routes. He does a lot of more underneath stuff. I know I just sent you guys this picture of his Ghostbuster cleats earlier, which is pretty cool. But here's the thing. Zaire Alexander all week
appreciate it.
Zaire Alexander all week has said that he's going to be the one-on-one matchup with Thielen. So now do you want to run the better receiver against the worst matchup, or you want to swing for the fences in Jefferson in bad weather? I would stick with my guns and go with Thielen just because I like the volume, but I'm not confident in starting either one of them.
So before we go to the next game, am I the only one on Cincinnati?
Yes.
Yes.
I like Tennessee to win the game, but I don't think they cover the 6.5.
All right, 2-2.
2-2. Okay.
Who would have guessed both of these teams would be at least 500 or better? The 3-3 Las Vegas Raiders visit the 5-2. God, that seems so weird to say. The 5-2 Cleveland Browns. Browns are laying 1.5. The over/under is 48. The Raiders have allowed 30 or more points in 5 of 6 games. Cleveland is one of 3 teams with a winning record, but a negative point differential. Mike, according to Next Gen Stats, Baker Mayfield has a 17.2 passer rating when under pressure this season. That's the 3rd worst in the NFL. It wasn't that great of a quarterback draft, as it turns out, but that doesn't really look like it's working out too well for the Browns, despite the fact they're 5-2.
Yeah, Baker's back and forth. He has good games. He looks good, and against they played the Bengals last time and probably should have lost that game. But remember, he's beaten the Bengals twice in that record, that record that we see. So it's not really appetizing that they're 5-2. Are they the worst 5-2 team in the league? I don't know if I'd say that. But with the loss of Beckham, I mean, it's a big loss for them, but I wouldn't say it's a tragic loss for them. I mean, I think they could beat the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders are that good of a team. I did like Carr coming into the season, but I think the Raiders have issues when you get out of the running back spot. The running back spot with Josh Jacobs, he's a beast. But, Aguilar is actually playing pretty well this year. It's funny, he can't catch a cold with the Eagles, and he goes to the Raiders, and he's catching all kinds of bombs now. But I think the Raiders coming across to Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland pulls away in this game. I mean, it is a low line. I think it's 2.5. I think it is
1.5.
1.5. Yeah, I mean, I like Cleveland to win this game. I don't think Baker Mayfield's the reason. I just think that the running game plays a factor in this game as well. I think both teams are going to run. Both teams are going to run well. I just think Cleveland can edge it out a little bit because I'm not high on the Raiders at all.
I like the Raiders. I just don't trust Baker Mayfield ever, unless he's playing unless he's playing the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, if he played the Cincinnati Bengals 16 games a year, I mean, we're talking about an elite quarterback. But unfortunately, only twice a year do you play the worst team in the NFL. I like the Raiders. I think with Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr, and they've been playing well. Carr throwing to Aguilar, Darren Waller. I mean, there are some weapons there. I think the Raiders win. Baker's going to throw. He's going to throw you at least 2 balls. You just got to catch them if you're the Raiders. So I think the Raiders win this game. It's a close one. It's probably one of the better games of the opening slate. But I like the Raiders.
Tony?
I'm with Brandon on this one. I like the Raiders as well. The Browns actually have been struggling lately with the running game. I mean, Kareem Hunt has took a little bit of dip. They're averaging a little bit less than normal with the Chubb and Hunt backfield. That could be due to the game situation. If you look at, they played the worst team in the league, and Baker Mayfield had a better game last week, but it was also Cincinnati Bengals, and Cincinnati Bengals did score 34 points on them. And we just talked about their offense and how much improvement is, but it's still not an offense that should be going out there and lighting up a solid team. I like the Raiders in this. The line is kind of screaming for you to take the Bengals, so I'm going to go with the Raiders. Guys like Waller and Josh Jacobs, and I think they just have the actual better quarterback matchup right now. Less mistakes. If that run defense, which isn't a bad run defense, can slow down Cleveland, it's going to force Baker into mistakes. And I like the Raiders with Darren Waller to make a big play.
I don't know the exact number, but I saw this somewhere on Twitter not that long ago. Teams that are 2.5 point or less underdogs are winning outright all the time in the league. I forget what the exact number was, but it was a pretty solid number of that. So based on that, I'm in agreement here. I think that the Raiders win this game outright. And again, the number is begging. It is begging you to take Cleveland. It's begging you to take a 5-2 team at home when you're only giving up 1.5, and that line is down from 2.5. So for me, I definitely, here it is. So 2020 underdogs of 2.5 or less are 16-3 against the spread. So you want to talk about trends there? I think you really got to like the Raiders in this one, and that's where I would be betting this game, and I would take the Raiders. And I think
the home team gets 3 points, really just screams right there to take the underdog.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if they're home, the Raiders are a 2.5 point favorite.
We were just the game on Thursday night. We were just there. So the Panthers were a 2.5 point favorite at home, and the Falcons beat outright. So I mean, the numbers are definitely there. I think Brandon dropped off. I like the Raiders in this one.
The looting must have started in Philly already.
Maybe could have. Good point.
It's going to be an interesting week in this country. Colts take a 4-2 record into Detroit at 3-3. The Colts are laying 3 here. Over under is 49.5. Here's a stat. The Detroit Lions are 5-13 at home since 2018. That is the second worst record in the NFL. I assume the Jets are the ones that are worse. I can't think of anybody else that's there. For the Colts, 4 of their last 6 opponents have 1 win or less. So these are not teams that necessarily lighting the world on fire, yet both are at least 500. So, Tony, I wrote the Lions off for dead 2 weeks ago at 1-3, and now they're 3-3, so egg on my face. But this feels like a different game than the Lions have played. Again, they went and they beat the Falcons because the Falcons beat the Falcons. They went and they beat the Jaguars mostly because they're the Jaguars. I don't necessarily think that was anything Detroit was doing. So they clearly have the better quarterback in this one for sure, as they do most of the time in these games. But that's a pretty bad home record. I mean, I guess you can leave nothing for sure here.
Breaking news, Elton Brand has signed a contract with the 76ers. To go off base a little bit there. But how
do you feel about that? Is that good or bad?
Contract is saying, Brand's a lame duck anyway. I mean, he's there. He got flustered in the GM position a little bit earlier than expected. Now he has somebody to learn under Daryl Morey. I don't know if he's going to learn, the best, but, what are you going to do? But anyway, as far as this game is concerned, Detroit Lions are all of a sudden, they're buyers. Like we mentioned earlier in the trade deadline, they acquire Everson Griffin, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. This game boils down to the Colts. I think what the Colts are doing on offense is extremely puzzling. I mean, you said about Stafford being the best matchup, the best quarterback in the matchup. Now with Stafford, I definitely think that's completely accurate, because instead of Indianapolis, who has a great run defense and a great pass defense, and their pass defense since Malik Hooker has been out is a little down. Darius Leonard has been banged up as well, so that hurts the defense. But offensively, you have Frank right there. What is he doing with this team, right? Power running game. Quentin Nelson, probably the nastiest player on offensive or defensive line in the NFL, depending on him and Aaron Donald when I go head to head. But Quentin Nelson is a complete animal. So you have an offensive line like that. I think Costanzo, I don't know if he's back yet because he has been out. I don't know if he got healthy on a bye week. Why is this team not just power running the ball, play action, making short reads and everything like that? Guys like T.Y. Hilton that have been completely, wiped off the face of the earth in this offense as well. You have Marquise Johnson stepping up. But is that Phillip Rivers? Is that Frank Wright? I mean, what is the issue with that? Because, we've all, really given Frank Wright a lot of credit. Now, what team of Indianapolis are we going to see? If they come out with the power running game and play smart football, they should beat this Detroit team who is a fraud. If they want to throw the ball and have a comedy of mistakes, it's going to open up the window for Detroit to sneak in there. I mean, listen, Kenny Galladay, he's a legit wide receiver one. DeAndre Swift last couple of weeks has stepped up. This is a game I would not touch with a 10-foot pole because I don't think either team has a true identity. I'll lean Indianapolis to win a close one.
To your point, Tony, T.Y. has had fewer than 100 yards receiving in 17 straight games, the longest of his career. So he really has been completely almost erased, from that standpoint. Mike, I know you love to bash the Lions. I think we all do. And we all thought the Colts would be – the Colts are a weird 4-2. Like, they're not a 4-2 where I say, I feel really good at what they're doing because they're not really beating anybody who's any good. But they are 4-2 nonetheless. This is a game that I think the Colts need a little more than the Lions because the Lions have won 2 in a row now and kind of gotten off that maybe Matt Patricia might not be getting fired type thing.
Well, I agree with Tony that the Colts offense this year has been puzzling. I mean, T.Y. Hilton can't get rolling at all. It's amazing. He has catches in all these games. He's not really doing anything there. He's spreading the ball around Rivers a little bit, and your best receiver, your deep guy, is not getting anything. So with that said, though, the Colts defense, give them some credit. They're probably top 5 defense in the league and really getting to the quarterback. So I see that as, a problem for Detroit. I mean, Detroit won last week because of Todd Gurley's idiocy. I mean, he goes down on the 5-yard line. That game's over. They kick a field goal. They get a loss in that game. They end up coming back, driving down the field and scoring and winning the game. And give them credit, but they probably should have lost that game too. I like the Colts in this game. I don't think the Colts are a powerhouse by any means on offense. I just think they're maybe a little bit better in the way of just offensively with some weapons. And defensively, I think they're going to slow Detroit down because they're not offensive to me at all, really. So I like the Colts giving 3 points here.
Brandon?
Yeah, I like the Colts, but to the point with Phillip Rivers and T.Y. Hilton, T.Y. Hilton has not been the same since the unusually early retirement of Andrew Luck. I mean, he's really been a product of Andrew Luck. If you look at even the games where Andrew Luck was hurt throughout his career, T.Y. Hilton struggled. And now with Phillip Rivers, who appears, we said it last year, he appears to be cooked. And I do like the Colts defense. Jonathan Taylor's a really good young back with that offensive line. And I never trust the Detroit Lions with Matt Patricia. They're never ever buttoned up at the end of games. I'm talking about Atlanta blowing leads. Detroit's right there in the blowing lead category. They did come back last week against Atlanta. I mean, that's the game of lead blowing there. But I like the Colts in this game. It's a game that they really need to win because if they lose this game, they really fall out of that division race with Tennessee being what they are 5-1. So I think this is a game that the Colts need more. I think it's a game that they win, and they kind of put their stamp on this offense and show that they're a team that a force to be reckoned with in that division and throughout the AFC.
I think, though, if it's going to be a Colts win, it's really got to come on the ground, though. The Lions have only allowed one 300-yard passer this year. That was last week with Matt Ryan. Their 3 losses, though, have come against good teams that are combined 14-5, the Bears, the Saints, and the Packers. So, again, this is a team with a winning record. Detroit doesn't seem to do very well against them. I also think the Colts find a way to win. The 3 number might be dead on, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Detroit,
definitely not a game I would bet.
Detroit has more weapons than Indy. Lions, money lines, plus 150. Detroit can win. Yeah, but I like the coach in. I'm not putting any money in Matt Patricia's hands. That's all. Not even close. I mean,
Matt Patricia he could be out. I mean, they're just waiting for him to lose so he can get fired. So.
Well, they're making trades to try to improve that team. So I don't know if they're looking to make a coaching move.
NFC North battle. between the Vikings and the Packers with reverse records. Vikings 1-5, Packers 5-1. These two teams played in week 1, and that's where the bad luck started for the Vikings. That was a very kind of dull game until the fourth quarter when points just went out the door, and it was insane, and the Packers got a win there, and they've been very, very good ever since. They're laying 6 in this one. Over-under is 50. Matt LaFleur is 18-4. That's the best in NFL history as a coach in the minimum of 20 games. And the Vikings, 7 of their last 10 are against teams that are 500 or better. So, Tony, we talked about teams that need to sell. This might be a team that needs to sell because it ain't getting better.
Yeah, LaFleur's record is a little bit impressive, but at the same time, we're talking about a guy who inherited Aaron Rodgers, who, I think that kind of throws all these little stats out the window. I mean, what other coach came into a situation when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback still not in his prime, but still very, very good. So those records have a little bit of asterisks by them, so to speak, since we're in 2020 and everything gets an asterisk now. But good for him. I think his positive impact on the team kind of allows some fresh air to get into there and revitalize the organization. Minnesota, definitely a team that should be selling. Thielen was a good option to get out of there. I mean, they already have their wide receiver in the future, looks like, in Justin Jefferson. I don't know who else would be a trade target there. They're not trading Dalvin Cook. He has zero trade value with his injury and his contract right now, and I don't think anybody's in the market for that. This game is the bad weather game that we talked about a little bit before. We're actually looking into, avoiding this game. I like Devontae Adams to have a big game. He's an underneath receiver. They're going to look at the short passing game, and that should definitely destroy Minnesota because they're just not very good to defend in the pass. So I like Packers here. I like laying the 6. I don't know if Kirk Cousins. Another bet I really like is Kirk Cousins getting an interception. I think that has good value there. So, Brandon, I think your mic is going a little crazy there. I'm getting a lot of feedback, bud.
Yeah, fix that. While you're fixing that. Mike, Justin Jefferson was not one of the first receivers taken in this draft. However, he's been he's the guy that nobody really talking about, probably because Minnesota's 1-5. He's on pace for over 1,400 receiving yards. That would be a rookie record in the Super Bowl era. The current record is Anquan Boldin, 1,377. That was back in 2003. How impressed are you that the fact that this kid's doing what he's doing, despite the fact that this team stinks?
I mean, he was a pretty high pick for Minnesota. I'm surprised that he's doing this well this quick. He's really their deep threat. He's really catching a lot of balls. Thielen doesn't look too happy about that, but I mean, it is what it is. He's picking up where Stephon Diggs let off a little bit. Can he keep it going all year? I don't know. I mean, seems like he's a good, reliable receiver. He gets deep balls and he can run them in. But the bad weather today, I think, is going to go pose well for that. It's not going to be good. I know the over-under has come down from 55 all the way down to 48 and a hook. I mean, obviously because of the weather. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a ground attack. I don't like the over in this game on the side note just because Green Bay, if you see their drives, they take long drives anyway. It's just a matter of they don't strike quick in any kind of game. So I think the over's out here. It might be an under game. I don't know. But in any sense, I'm kind of with Tony. I like the Packers in this game. I mean, I think it's down to 5.5 or 6 right now. I like the Packers to beat Minnesota. Minnesota's a mess right now. They should be selling off, and they're not a good team. So I like the Packers to win this game.
Jamal Williams too, guys. Williams.
I was going to say, any concern? No Aaron Jones?
Yeah,
not at all. Jamal Williams. Yeah, and we saw last year too when Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones had a pretty decent split going into later on in the season where Aaron Jones kind of separated himself. Jamal Williams has the ability to capability there, and I'm one of the bets I like is his rushing and receiving yards total. He's going to be used a lot.
I just want to quickly throw this to Tony because I know he's the over/under guy here. So from 55 down to 48.5, Tony, it's dropped because of the weather. Obviously, do you think that line gone down as far as it has? Do you maybe possibly think a slight over here?
No, not at all. Not like I said earlier. The wind is a huge factor. It's a game over under. I'm not going to touch because we don't have the information really of just how bad it is. Field conditions. We might get that information, quickly. It might be already out there, but as far as I know, it's a game I wouldn't touch. If the line drops and it's dropping, you might want to just follow the trend and take the under. But I'm not.
And you're not big on unders.
Not true, but I mean, it's also a game too where your Kirk Cousins pick 6 away from hitting that over. So.
Right.
Brandon, you good?
Should be.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers has the highest passer rating against the Vikings than by any player in the Super Bowl era, 108.4. So he does tend to play well against this team. They don't tend to do very well against him. So it is a 6-point line. It is a situation where one team's much better than the other, but it's also a divisional game. So your read.
Yeah, I like Green Bay. I just don't trust Minnesota with Kirk Cousins and that defense, which is young and not very good. Devontae Adams, he's probably going to have a huge game. Rodgers, the one coach that Aaron Rodgers does not like playing against is Mike Zimmer. He's historically given him some problems, but I don't really see that being the case. I believe week 1, Minnesota was favored against Green Bay, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they're favored by maybe a field goal, and Green Bay won the game. It was a game I was, confused by that line, but I like Green Bay. I still like Green Bay. I think they're just a better team overall. The Jamal Williams, I don't know how much of a drop off there is, just based off of who the opponent is. And look, the Packers did use a 2nd-round pick on a running back in A.J. Dillon. Your guys' thoughts? Do we see some A.J. Dillon? We saw him a little bit last week. Could this be a game where we see some more of him? He's a guy they used a 2nd-round pick on. So it would be nice if you actually saw him play.
I think you'll see some of them. I don't know if you're going to see that much make a difference. I mean, maybe 6 or 7 carries to mix it up, give Williams a little break. But I think you'll see a little bit of him today.
He didn't impress in his appearance last week at all against a Houston team that's kind of on defense, especially stopping the run. So you're looking at A.J. Dillon is not a viable fantasy lineup guy.
Right.
Does he get a vulture? Initially, his role coming in the season, they were pretty high on him, maybe especially a vulture back, down around the goal line. But that doesn't even look to be the case right now. Jamal Williams is the clear lead back there.
What a waste of a first 2 picks for the Green Bay for 2020. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers getting towards the end of his career, and you wasted your first 2 picks on guys who one's not going to play because you have Aaron Rodgers, and the other one is not good enough to get on the field.
Welcome to Ryan Halvermill's hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's a disaster because Green Bay's a team in that Super Bowl bubble.
And Brandon,
when you're wasting top picks.
Yeah, and you traded up to get to that Jordan Love pick, so that's even, we weren't even sitting there. You moved up to get to that spot, so.
Yeah. Yep. The draft has certainly not been friendly to the Green Bay Packers. Yeah.
The difference in this game for me, I think, is going to come down to the fact that Green Bay's defense, I know it didn't matter last week, but Green Bay's defense is so much better at home than it is on the road. They allow, I want to say, like 18 points less or something like that at home. And Minnesota will be able to score points in this game because they can't, I mean, with guys like, again, Jefferson and Cook, but I still like that. Jody Angelo, Gaskin or R. Brown?
R. Brown. Who's R. Brown?
Yeah,
Ronald Brown, the old.
Joe, who's R. Brown?
Yeah, I don't know who R. Brown is.
Reggie Brown, the ex-Eagles wide receiver.
Let us know who R. Brown is, and we'll absolutely answer that question.
Maybe he means Hollywood Brown.
Well, that's Marquise Brown. So
yeah, that could just be a mix up there.
Mar. Put a capital R. I don't know.
R's not near M on the keyboard, so it's not a mistake. So
yeah, no, I appreciate the question. If you could tell us, who your actual options are.
I do like Gaskin though. He's been a good back.
Yeah, we get into that game a little bit more. When we get to that game.
Next up, this is funny.
We didn't have to talk about this game.
The New York Jets are 0-7. They go to Kansas City, who are 6-1, and the defending Super Bowl champions are laying 20 points.
It's actually come down.
It has a little bit. The over-under is 49. The Jets have scored fewer than 20 points in 6 of 7 games. Kansas City has allowed 20 points or less in 6 of 7 games. Kelsey and Tyreek Hill both have 5 touchdowns apiece. The entire Jets roster has 4. This is not going – the question is not will Kansas City win. The question is by how many. He meant R. Jones. Okay, so Gaskin or Ronald Jones? I think I'm still saying.
Oh, Ronald Jones for the Bucks. Okay.
I think I'll still say Ronald Jones until.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
go Ronald Jones against that Detroit, the New York team. I think that's a really great matchup. Haskins, what he's going to be, he's been great this year. He's been a nice fantasy find for the most part, especially a running back 3 or flex position. But if you're looking, you're gonna have to do a little wait and see with that Miami offense and what Tua has to bring to it. But I like Gaskins if you mean, but as far as this matchup with Ronald Jones, I think he's definitely going to play.
Yeah, Ronald Jones volume too. So
How about Ronald Jones or Deontay Johnson?
Ronald Jones.
yeah, he's getting volume, Brandon. That's the thing. I mean, Devontae Johnson's still a good receiver, but Jones is getting all the carries right now, all of them pretty much.
Yeah. And Tampa Bay's a run first team. I don't care if it's Antonio Brown and whatever receivers are out there, guys out there, but because they're still a run first team.
Yeah.
I think Ronald Jones is a safer bet for volume than Deontay Johnson, just simply because there's more receivers to throw the ball to, more talented guys to throw the ball to. Even though I really like Deontay Johnson, I think if you're starting anybody on Pittsburgh, I think he's the guy you want. But
run sets up the pass.
Yeah, and plus that game could get out of hand very early. It could be just a running game. So consider that as well. So Brandon, Jets stink, Chiefs don't. They cover in 20?
I keep saying the Jets have to at some point cover these big lines, right? I mean, they can't keep losing these games. And I know they did last week. I believe it was 10 or 10.5 against Buffalo. I don't see it happening. The Chiefs just have too many weapons on offense with Hill and Kelsey and now Le'Veon Bell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I don't know how the Jets are going to stop them, and I certainly don't know how the Jets are going to score any points. They had 4 total yards of offense last week in the second half against the Buffalo Bills, which is not a prolific defense. It's not like they're playing against the 85 Bears. I don't see how the Jets move the football. I don't see how the Jets stop the Chiefs. I do think this is a game where they cover. I think it was 21.5 was the highest it got to the line. So it came down, as Mike said. I would take the Chiefs and the Chiefs to cover.
In professional sports betting, laying 20 points is extreme anomaly. I remember when the England Patriots were on their run to go 18-1 or whatever it was. They hit 20 a couple times. 20 is a lot to give up when you're talking about professional sports. Betting wise, this is not a game I'm touching with the points at all. Even if you look at the Kansas City point total, I think the Kansas City point total was like 31.5. Not sure how good the weather is going to be there. Bets I do like are Clyde Edwards-Helaire total being over 97, rushing and receiving. I think it gets out of hand. I think he gets a lot of volume. Look for the Le'Veon Bell revenge game as well.
Yeah.
Chiefs roll easily in this game. I'm not betting the 20 though, but I'm very very confident, as everybody else should be, that they win. I mean, listen. The Jets starting wide receivers who are not very good to begin with in Jamison Crowder and Rashard Perriman are out. We already discussed that they don't have Le'Veon Bell. So Perrine and Frank Gore combination is not going to get it done. I just feel bad for Sam Darnold and what he has to deal with trying to quarterback that team. Denzel Mims, their wide receiver that they took first, is now playing. He had a decent game last week, so I'd be interested to see what he does, just kind of developmental purposes.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. 20 in professional sports is a lot. You see a lot in colleges and stuff like that. It's a whole different animal. But when you're in the NFL, 20 points is a lot. I'm not touching this game either. I just think that, the Jets could surprise you. I really doubt it. But that's a lot of points to give a team. I'm still taking the Chiefs, though. I think the Chiefs just have too much firepower for the Jets, even with Le'Veon Bell playing his old team again. I'm sure he's going to have a score to settle with them. So I think him and Helaire are going to have big games. I don't know the weather out there, but I can't see the receivers from the Chiefs not doing anything. And like Tony said, Sam Darnold's going to be running for his life back there today. So it's going to be a bad all-around game for the Jets. They're in total tank mode. That's why they're not getting rid of their coach. They're looking for a top 2 pick, and I think they're definitely going to get it, because I don't see them beating anybody anytime soon, and I'll take the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be a laugher. So,
here's a question. Okay, I think the Chiefs can score 31 points.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Jets can score 10. I also would not necessarily want to bet this game, but at the same time, I do you really want to put money on the Jets to do anything? I mean, you don't like life's too short to bet unders. Life's too short to bet the Jets to do anything.
Yeah, and I go back to what Bill Burr says about hanging his dog from the ceiling fan in his if you guys ever seen any of his comedy. But listen, if you really, really, really want to bet the Chiefs, what you need to do is pray and pray and pray that the Jets get some fluke touchdown early on.
Yeah,
drop that live bet line down to 16.5. Then you just pound the Chiefs.
This is an excellent question by a new name, Aaron Radford. Thanks for watching the show, sir.
Thanks,
Boston Scott or Gio Bernard?
I go Boston Scott. To be honest with you, I think with that Dallas defense, running backs are going to get some yards. He could get some in close touchdowns. I think you take Boston Scott.
I think they're both a good matchup because we mentioned, how bad the Dallas defense is. But I know even last week, Brian mentioned one of 7 teams to give up 400 yards in all of their games was the Tennessee Titans. So both have good matchups. You're basically just betting on who do you think has a better chance to score. I would go with Scott only because of the fewer number of options that there are. I would go with Scott by that much. It's a good problem to have, though, because I do think they do both produce in that 12 to 15.
Sanders out again today, so you're still going to get volume with Scott.
Yeah, you wouldn't even consider Scott if Sanders was playing first.
Yeah. Correct.
I mean, yeah. But listen, Boston Scott has a great matchup, and he was a little infuriating last week, watching that Eagles game because I was extremely confused of what was going on with him. I mean, he came out in the first quarter, and it was Boston Scott's show. I mean, he had 42 total yards in the first quarter. Second and third quarter, the game was still a relatively close game, and it's like Doug Peterson forgot how to use them, and he got very cautious, and it was a little head scratcher. Yeah, you have to kind of really worry about where Peterson's thought process is in that offense. Now, Scott had
You mean Doug Peterson got away from the running game? Oh man.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah. But you saw guys like Huntley in there, and you saw Corey Clement in there. It was kind of just like I don't know if maybe Scott got banged up a little bit. We never heard of, but then he came back in, and he was a big part of the fourth quarter and had the game-winning catch. With that said, I'm definitely going Boston Scott. I just the Dallas matchup is I'd start the water boy against that Dallas defense.
No, I agree. They've been run on, so obviously go back to so many games have been run on this year. I think you got to like Boston Scott in this game.
And the only time I'll ever say this year, Brian, is Boston Scott's probably a top 15 fantasy back this week.
Here's a question for you. Sean McGee, in the outside the box viewing party, Sean McGee wants to know Kelsey over 63.5 or Hill over 65.5.
Probably go Kelsey.
Say that again, Brian.
I think they're the yardage prop. So Travis Kelce over 63.5 or Tyreek Hill over 65.5.
Is both an option? Because Hill might have that on one play.
That's the thing.
Legitimately, I would consider both.
I think one or the other. I take Kelsey. I think he's going to get a lot of catches in this game.
Here's the thing. I think if it gets out of hand, then I think you see more Kelsey than Hill, though.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go down the field.
Yeah, I like both. I like both those bets. I mean, what you're talking about, I would go Kelsey first, Hill close second, just because I think the volume's going to be there. Hill is more boomer bust type, and they might not even really need to throw the ball too often, but they'll throw the ball to Kelsey to set up the run a little bit. This KC offense, this might just be the get-right game. They haven't really, fantasy-wise and prop-wise and stuff like that, this Kansas City offense hasn't really lit it up. I mean, Pat Mahomes hasn't been that number one by far fantasy quarterback that everybody was hoping for. And I think this is the game that fantasy owners and prop bettors and stuff like that feel good about themselves when they just completely blow the Jets out of the water and everybody hits their fantasy props. So, yeah, I like both those bets. I'd lean Kelsey first.
Kelsey over 63.5 yards in 5 of 7 games this year.
There you go. Against teams better than the Jets. That's for sure. Because they can't get worse. The LA Rams, a West Coast team, making a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff, 5-2 against the 3-3 Miami Dolphins. Rams are laying 3 in the game. Over-under is 45.5. Miami is allowing just 18.8 points per game. That's their fewest since 2006. Rams have allowed fewer than 25 points in 6 of 7, but the main story in this game is Tua Tagovailoa, the 5th overall pick in the 2020 draft, will make his debut at the chagrin of Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, Brandon, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback again. Yeah, that's nice. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback on your mic, so I will come back to you in just a second. But, Mike, this is Tua's debut against a Rams team that I think is a lot better than anybody thought that they would be, to be blunt. So, what's your read here?
It's funny. You look at the line, you say it's an easy game to take the Rams. You got Tua in his first game. Although he's had a week to prepare for this game. I mean, he's a rookie. It's his first time in the NFL and things like that. We talked about it earlier. The Miami defense hasn't played bad this year. I think that's a lot of their success, and it's been keeping them in a lot of games because Fitzpatrick's been, playing good as well. The Rams are coming back across the country again after going back across the country last week as well. So they come back across the country this week. I still think the Rams are playing well with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and the whole defensive issues and things like that. Goff is playing well. I think it's going to be a close game, to be honest with you. I just, for some reason, I think Miami can hang in this game. I don't think they can win it. I think it's going to be a very close game. That line tells me something a little bit. I don't think Miami is a doormat at all in the league. I think they've been playing okay. I'm going to take the Dolphins in this plus the 3, just because I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Rams could pull it out. But I think that the wear and tear coming across the country again, they could be a little bit sluggish and have to get back in this game. And I think the Dolphins can keep it close. So I'll take the points with the Dolphins.
I have some rules in life that I follow, and one was I'll never bet on a rookie quarterback making his first start. I don't know off the top of my head what their records are, but it's not good. It's pretty dismal. So Tua, as much as I'm excited to see him play, Tua time and all that fun stuff, I think he's going to be a very good player in the NFL. He's going to be a fun player to watch, regardless of the results. Ryan Fitzpatrick's reaction to this news, which kind of was imminent when the season started, was a little disheartening because, he's always been that consummate professional that would really set up the team to go in the next level. Let's have a little fun here. We're going to talk, he's the fluffer when you're talking about porn terms. You know what I'm saying? He fluffs the rookie quarterback to get him ready to go, So, hey, so now him kind of taking a different line on it. Exactly. So when you're talking about a team like the LA Rams, I'm a little bit, I'm not surprised, but their defense is really playing well. Jalen Ramsey is going to shut down probably Devontae Parker for the most part. He just doesn't have that same he has a great physical profile to shut down a receiver like Parker. Do the Dolphins have enough weapons like Myles Gaskin to kind of hang with Tua and everything like that to kind of give him? I don't believe so. I mean, they're a nice story. They've been playing hard. They just whipped the crap out of a football team, and now they benched their quarterback and they're going with a rookie quarterback. So I'm very interested to see what that locker room is like too. But listen, Tua is going to be a special type of player, and he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in the NFL. How he develops as a quarterback, now that's going to be another interesting thing to see. The Rams defense is a little bit underrated for what they've been doing. Give me the Rams. I'll lay the 3. And I'm pretty confident in that.
Mike.
Already went.
Oh, I'm sorry. Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, I like Tua so much.
I'm not really. I'm doing.
Yeah, I know. We know.
Pay attention there. I like Tua so much. I went out and bought a Tua shirt. Look, I loved him at Alabama. He's the all-time Alabama touchdown leader. He was 20-2 there. He won the national championship. Came in for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. He makes me have nightmares every single day. But look, I like the Rams in this game. I just think with Jared Goff and the way that offense is moving, and with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on the defensive side, that defense has been really, really good this year. I do think this is going to be a very interesting game. It's a game I have circled. I'm going to be watching it. I want to watch every play of Tua, see what he looks like. But I don't know, if there's quite enough there yet for Tua to succeed at a playoff level. But look, there's a reason why they made this move to Tua. They're 3-3. It's a division they look at and say we could potentially get to the playoffs. There's an added, there's an extra team in the playoffs this year. You know, if this is a game, if the Dolphins could figure out a way to possibly win this game, you're looking at a team that's looking at a playoff run, for sure. So, but I think the Rams are just. I still think they're a better football team. The Dolphins, for the coming years, have really built this thing the right way. Brian Flores, I think, has done a very good job, but I like the Rams today in a close one.
You know what it is? The only pause I have is to his debut game, because I don't like Rams coming across the country at 1:00. I don't like that a little bit, but I think the Rams defense is good enough where it's going to give Tua some problems. So let's not put the cart before the horse. Kid's in his first game in the league. I think he's going to be fine. Anthony Medio says he loves the Dolphins money line and sprinkle the under on this game. Joe D'Angelo heavy Gaskin load today, very possibly. The Rams have in early starts done okay though. They were getting their dicks kicked in Buffalo. They came back to get a lead in that game. Did not win that game, however. So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say I lean Rams, not touching the game, but I lean Rams. I don't necessarily love it, but again, I lean the Rams. I'm not going to second guess myself, but I don't love the game. Last of our 1 p.m. games is probably the game of the week by all accounts. The 6-0 Pittsburgh Steelers visit the 5-1 Baltimore Ravens. Ravens laying 4, over-under is 46, which I believe is the lowest number of the week off the top of my head. Harbaugh, 10-2 career after the bye. He's won 4 straight. Pittsburgh has 26 points scored in every game this season, just 3 of 4 last year. Probably an issue with the quarterback. Mike, this is probably again the game of the week. It's always a great game when these two teams play. It's always a heavy game, a hard-hitting game. These two teams do not like each other. But Pittsburgh's undefeated here. They are also getting 4 points.
It is kind of weird. You see a undefeated team like that getting 4 points. I know they're in Baltimore, and Baltimore's coming off a bye week. But I mean, how do you keep knocking the Pittsburgh Steelers? They're doing it with the running attack. They're doing it with the air attack. You got Claypool playing well. Devontae Johnson is playing well. You got a lot of guys there that are playing good. And I know the Ravens have that running game with, added with Jackson, and, you have Ingram, and you have Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. What's that?
Ingram is out today.
Oh, Ingram is out. Okay. Even so, I still like Pittsburgh in this game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, actually. I think both teams can go back and forth, even though both defenses are playing really well. I think it's going to be that kind of game where they go back and forth. But you know what? I'll take Pittsburgh, still undefeated, and give me 4 points. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I think, like I said, you're going to have both points out of both teams. Look for Mark Andrews to have a big day, I think. That's a guy that you look for over the middle a lot to catch some balls. I like Pittsburgh in this game, though, getting to 4.
Yeah, I like the Baltimore Ravens, and it's because of Ben Roethlisberger's propensity to throw interceptions. I mean, we saw 3 last week when the Pittsburgh Steelers had I think it was a 17-point lead. He really threw the Titans right back into that game, and I think he's had an interception in every game. So I like the Ravens in this game. I think we see Lamar Jackson start to look more like Lamar Jackson of last year physically. He hasn't looked quite the same. But I think with the bye, he got some rest. I like the Ravens in this game. That defense, 2 of the best defenses in the NFL. I like Lamar Jackson to have success with his legs. Ben throws an interception that cost them. It's a lower scoring game. I like the Ravens in this one. Something like a 20-17, typical Ravens-Steelers bloodbath.
I'll tell you what, this game and everything about it, especially the line, smells to high hell. I mean, if you look at to get an undefeated team on the road or not, getting 4 points, I'd expect this line normally. This line should be a 1.5, maybe 2 point lean to the Ravens, 3 at max. But now they're getting 4. It's like they're begging people to take Pittsburgh. Nothing you've seen this year has kind of said that the Baltimore Ravens are a better team recently than Pittsburgh Steelers, because the Ravens offense has been absolutely abysmal. It seems like Greg Roman, who's offensive coordinator, try to either outsmarts himself or just is trying to do too many different things. They've had costly drops at times. So it's, when you kind of scratch your head a little bit, like how is the Ravens going to score enough points with Pittsburgh Steelers? I mean, they've averaged almost 30 points a game this year. Now, that being said, you have Harbaugh coming off a bye. Everything with that line smells that it's going to be a Ravens win today. Playmakers, Hollywood Brown, as we mentioned earlier, Mark Andrews. We said that Mark Ingram has been out, but they still have Gus Edwards, who's all he does is just get a few carries a game, and he's always an effective runner. J.K. Dobbins might be the impact player that sets the difference to this. And I think the Ravens defense is going to be the difference. And I think the Ravens win and cover. It's something that's outside of the norm. Ravens shouldn't be a 4-point favorite in this game, but they are. And I think Vegas is screaming for you to take the Ravens laying the 4.
It's tough because, again, I agree with you. I think Vegas is telling you to take Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's a better team.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, again, Harbaugh has won 4 straight off of the bye. But Pittsburgh was, again, listen, they weren't favored last week. It was pretty much almost this exact line, if not that far off of it in Tennessee. Pittsburgh can score points. And listen, Pittsburgh, I'm not going to go here and say Pittsburgh is the Chiefs. I'm not going to say that. But wasn't this a very similar line to when the Chiefs went into Baltimore?
I think it was 3.5.
Close enough, right? Within the ballpark?
Yeah.
So to me, I mean, I kind of read this game the very same way. Pittsburgh's not necessarily, I mean, Pittsburgh's defense is fine. They're not necessarily going to beat teams defensively, though. They're going to rely on their quarterback to air the ball around. They can run well. So I see a lot of correlations between Pittsburgh and Kansas City from that way. So I think that I'm taking Pittsburgh in the points here. I think Pittsburgh can win this game outright, frankly. And
no, absolutely.
I just think that's where you can win some money is if you take Pittsburgh on the money line. I'm sure it's probably something around like 170-ish, if I had to make a guess. I like that. I 150. I like that. I would roll with Pittsburgh in this game. I would roll with Pittsburgh until they get beat. And I don't necessarily know that Baltimore is a team that's going to beat them. Because, again, I just see so many – they spread the ball around, not as good of a tight end as Kansas City, obviously. They probably run a little better than KC does. Defenses are probably a little edge towards Pittsburgh, if not a little bit of a bigger edge towards Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh in the game.
Yeah, plus 175 Pittsburgh money line. So there's some money to be made there.
There's definitely value there. And listen, if the Ravens come out of this bye week and don't look like a good football team, especially on the offensive side, I think there has to be some extreme question marks there. Now, Lamar Jackson, I guess you can regress, but I've watched every Ravens game this year. Offensively, coordinator, play calling, everything like that, it's been abysmal in the last few weeks, starting really with the Kansas City game. So if they don't come out and if they haven't addressed that out of the bye week and they look bad against the Steelers team that could very well blow them out of the water if they're not careful, I think there's really some red flags going up in Baltimore.
Who do you think needs the game more?
Baltimore.
I agree.
For sure.
I really agree with that. Mike, your thoughts?
I think Baltimore needs the game as well. I mean, they're especially coming off a bye week with 1 loss, chasing Pittsburgh, who's undefeated.
Now,
you don't. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying let's not forget the factor. Teams on back-to-back road games, in which this is for Pittsburgh, is definitely a big eye opener. They don't really normally perform well, so I think that's one of the things that you were taking into factor. A team coming off a bye against a team with back-to-back road weeks. When you look at the schedule in the beginning of the season, and you're a Pittsburgh fan or a Ravens fan, this is a perfect matchup for Baltimore.
Yeah, they really need this game in Baltimore. This is a team in Baltimore who I think a lot of people, maybe all 4 of us picked Baltimore to be in the Super Bowl this year. And they haven't quite looked like the team that we saw last year. And I think we would all agree Pittsburgh and Kansas City have looked better in the AFC, and I would say Tampa Bay has looked better in the NFC, and maybe even Green Bay or Seattle or some other teams. So they've really been in that, not the top echelon of the league that we thought they were going to be in. This is a game where they can prove that they still are that, and they just needed a few weeks and got the bye, rested. I actually really like the Ravens to come out and prove something today.
Tony, you thinking over today?
No, I'm not touching it.
Yeah, that doesn't. I think I would. I'm not. Yeah, I don't like it there.
I mean, there's these two defense. Although I think the Steelers defense can be overrated at times because the teams have scored on them that you wouldn't really expect, like Denver and something like that. This game just does not scream over or something that I'm willing to invest money on.
To that point, the Eagles scored 29 with and we know the injury situation that they had in that game.
Yeah. games. We got 19 minutes to 1 o'clock, so we'll roll through these 5 games. The Chargers take their 2-4 record to Denver's 2-4 record, laying 3.5. Over under here is 44. Denver's won 3 of their last 4 games against the Chargers. For Denver, Drew Lock has more picks his last 2 games with 4 than in his first career games with 3. So, Tony, again, the story of the league's been Justin Herbert, with good reason. He's played very, very well. They finally got a win last week, which was good for my pocket. I don't necessarily know what to make of Denver right now. Herbert is obviously the winner of the quarterback battle here.
Yeah, Locke hasn't really been too impressive. I mean, when we're talking about Denver, I think they expected a little bit much of them. They have had some issues with the receiver. I think Jerry Jeudy has a decent game today. Chargers losing Eckler, that kind of hurt them as well. But Justin Herbert has really stepped up and played, above expectations for a rookie quarterback. This game, I'm thinking Chargers win it. But if I'm betting it, I might take Denver getting 3.5 at home. Field goal game. It's 17-14 game. I think Joey Bosa makes Locke's life a living hell, and I think that might be the difference. So we're taking we're taking Denver with the points, but Chargers to win the game.
Yeah, it's actually down to 3 with DraftKings. I like the Chargers actually to cover that 3. I like the Chargers to win. Herbert's been, he's been excellent. He's been, really the story of the league in terms of the rookie quarterbacks, and he's outplayed Joe Burrow. And we've talked about how good Joe Burrow's been. He's been better. I think it's been a little bit of a surprise how quickly Herbert's been able to be this impressive. But I like the Chargers. I just don't see where they get offense there in Denver. Drew Lock has really been struggling. I thought this would be a year where Drew really took a step. His second year as a starter, haven't seen it at all. The injury of Cortland Sutton certainly has hurt, but there's other weapons there with Noah Fant and Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, Jerry Jeudy, as you mentioned, Tony. And so it's just Denver can't find a quarterback, and until they do, they're going to continue to struggle. I like the Chargers. It'll be a low-scoring game, I believe, but I think the Chargers win it and cover.
Yeah,
short and sweet. I like Herbert. Keep the train rolling. I like the Chargers in this one as well.
By the hook. It's
Put that on my headstone.
It's a divisional game. Whether you think Denver's good or not, it's a divisional game, and they've done well against the Chargers. Again, let's not put the Chargers in Canton. Okay, yeah, they've played well, but listen, they were losing to Jacksonville last week at home, so let's not So I think the Chargers do win the game. I think I buy the hook, and frankly, you could easily see a 27-24 Charger win here, and that number's right on. So yeah. Again, I don't like Denver plus 3.5 either, but I would say if you're going to take the Chargers, just buy the hook there.
There could be 2 more wins on the Chargers' resume. I mean, they blew 2 17-point leads, with Justin Herbert. So, and those were against much better teams than what they're facing today.
Right. NFC battle between 2 teams with pretty good records, although we probably think more of one than the other. The 4-2 Saints visit the 5-2 Bears. Saints are giving 4 in this one on the road. That is indicative. Over-unders 43. For the Saints, Breeze has 8 touchdowns, no picks his last 4 games against the Bears. Bears defense is allowing just a 78 passer rate, and that is the 3rd lowest in the league. Brandon, I made this point last week. The Saints have the fewest big plays in the NFL this season, meaning rushes of 10 or more yards, catches of 20 or more yards. Some of that has to be with, no Michael Thomas for pretty much the entire season, and that's fair. But, Drew Brees is in the bottom of the 9th with 2 out right now of his career. I mean, this is going to end by the end of the year, and he looks like the shell of himself.
Yeah, we keep hearing about this cliff for another 40-plus-year-old quarterback. The cliff ain't in Tampa Bay, or it wasn't in New England. It was in New Orleans. I mean, the deterioration of Drew Brees' arm has been plainly obvious for the last 3 to 3.5 years. He can't throw the ball down the field. Really, anything beyond those 20-yard throws, he can't make them.
Brandon, you sound like the Miami Dolphins team doctor when they examined them 10 years ago.
I think that's certainly something that could be playing a factor in the arm strength deterioration. Now, he's still great in the intermediate, Michael Thomas, I don't even think that matters. Michael Thomas, as Malcolm Jenkins said to him, he's slant boy. I mean, he runs those intermediate 10 to 15-yard routes, and that's what he does, and he's great at it. But that's what that offense is, and they rely a lot on Alvin Kamara as well. But to turn it over to the Chicago Bears offense, it's one of the worst in the NFL, and they were actually better with Mitchell Trubisky. Both quarterbacks stink. Neither one is very good, but they were
not better
actually
than Trubisky.
They were scoring more points per game with Mitchell
They
Trubisky.
played trash
with
games. You're not comparing apples to apples. You can't compare you got to compare the teams who they played against. I mean, Foles is quarterback that team against much worse, much tougher competition than Trubisky did. Look at Trubisky's first 2 games. I mean, he was struggling against the Atlanta Falcons. No one struggles against the Atlanta Falcons. Trubisky was struggling against the Atlanta Falcons. He got pulled during that game, and Foles came in,
and they haven't been better.
Because they're better. Okay, but if Foles plays the first 2 games like he would do better than Trubisky, because if you look at the quality of opponent that the Bears have faced when Foles is the starting quarterback, and I'm not a Foles fan. Foles hasn't played well. I'm not here saying Foles played well, but saying Trubisky has been playing better and Trubisky would do better is an absolute fallacy.
I said the offense was scoring. The offense is bad in general. It's the worst in football. The offense was scoring more points with Trubisky. There's no difference with the quarterback change of Nick Foles, and there hasn't been. They're scoring less points. They're one in the record is they have 2 losses with Foles. It hasn't been very good. It's been the worst.
Trubisky played 2 games. Game 1, it was Detroit. They scored 27 points. Game 2, they played the New York Giants, and they scored 17 points. So let's not say that Trubisky and the offense is worse. Foles comes in. They score 30 points against Falcons. They score 20 points and beat Tampa Bay. Okay, that 20 points against Tampa Bay is much more valuable than 17 points against the New York Giants. That's not even a question. So leave Trubisky in the trash where he is. If they want to go out there and play him to shop him around for next year, that's fine. But in no way, shape, or form has Trubisky done anything to say that he deserves that job. And Foles hasn't done anything really to secure the job. The Bears have a quarterback.
That's the point. That's the point. They have a quarterback problem.
Compare apples to apples, though, bud.
Well, the offense is terrible, and they're going to lose this game. The Saints, even without Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, who has a COVID problem, the Saints are going to outscore them. I don't think the Bears. I think they're a fraudulent 5-2 football team. They can't score points. The offense is terrible. They can't run the football. And I still think the Saints are in the upper echelon of the NFC.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Saints can win this game. Nick Foles stinks. He's terrible, and the defenses are good. I just think the Saints have a little bit more firepower. I'll take Drew Brees over Foles any day of the week. I'm taking the Saints late at 4.
I don't think the Saints are the upper echelon anymore. I think the Saints have been a product of Brees for a very long time, and right now I don't want the product of Drew Brees anymore. And that's the thing. Here's a hot take. They might be better off using Jameis Winston right now. Because at least you get the ball down the field. Now, having said that, there's nobody to throw the ball to. I grant you that. But
the other team
back, I mean, you can only run the slant.
The other team.
And people are going to buy that. I mean, at some point, the reason that Kamara has the numbers that he has, I think is a phenomenal player, is because the offense used him the best way for him. Is those short passes to Kamara, because Brees can't go down the field anymore.
And there's a reason why Michael Thomas is called Slant Boy, is because that's what Brees is comfortable throwing. He's accurate and he can throw slants. And when you're looking at this game, listen, first of all, if anybody could ever play wide receiver, if I didn't have my Achilles torn right now, I might be on the plane to Chicago, because you have Allen Robinson out, you have Emmanuel Sanders out, you have Mike Thomas out. Is there anybody up there that's going to catch a friggin' pass? Now,
Robinson is playing.
Is he playing now?
Yeah, it was a late announcement this morning that he is playing. He passed the concussion protocol.
Did he pass the protocol? All right. He still has Nick Foles playing too. So, I mean, listen. So you're talking about a team in New Orleans. This is going to be an ugly defensive game. Now, here's the question I have, though, because the same Bears team beat Tampa Bay. Are the New Orleans Saints looking past this Bears team on the road to play Tampa Bay next week?
Lane Johnson out.
Lane Johnson's out. There you go. So I think this game, it could be one of them trap games for the Saints. Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at props, you might want to bang Kamara's total yards. You might want to bang Traquan Smith's over yards. You might want to bang Jared Cook's over yards. But at the same time, Chicago can't run the ball. Their quarterback isn't very good. Their offense is anemic. Cole Clement made some decent catches last year, but I think this game just has a little bit of a hit the pause button on it, because I do see New Orleans going up there in a potential trap game, overlooking to their matchup with Tampa Bay. I mean, if you look at some of their injury reports, they're not even talking about the guys for this game. They're talking about the guys for next week game. Michael Thomas might be able to play next week. Emmanuel Sanders might be good for next week. All this other stuff. They better focus on the Chicago Bears, because that defense, and if he gets to, and you mentioned your boy Jameis Winston down there, you don't want Raekwon Smith or Khalil Mack taking Drew Brees' head off and you throw Jameis Winston, because then all bets are off. Because I'm not, no one's confident with a Super Bowl team putting Jameis Winston. Because if you put Jameis Winston on this team, guess what you have? You have last year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's what they have. I'll take New Orleans to win the game, but you know what? I'll take Chicago with the points. I think it's going to be a close, ugly game.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like this. This game. I don't like anything about it. I think the line's high. And I don't like the Bears a little bit. I don't even hide that, but I think the line's high for this game, and it's actually up to 5 for what I just.
5 now. Yeah, on DraftKings now it's at 5.
Yeah, it was a 4 yesterday, so I guess the money's coming in on the Saints. NFC West battle, the 49ers at 4-3 against the 5-1 Seahawks. They're laying 3. Over-unders 53. Russell Wilson is 12-4 career against the Niners. The Niners are 4-0 when allowing less than 24 points, 0-3 when allowing 24 or more. So, Mike, here's the thing. We talk about this vaunted Seattle offense with good reason. Defense stinks. They lost last week.
I think the Niners are playing a little bit better than they give them credit for, and I think Seattle's bounce back against last week's game is going to show this week. I know we got 2 more games, so I'll make it quick. I think it's an over in the way of the 53, and I like Seattle in this game to bounce back. I think the line's 2.5 now, but I like Seattle to bounce back, and I'll lay the number. I think big week for DK Metcalf and Lockett. And I think the Niners come back as well. Garoppolo has a good game against this terrible Seattle defense. I like the over in Seattle.
Yeah, I think this is a very good game. I still don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo, especially against a Russell Wilson or a Patrick Mahomes, as we saw in the Super Bowl. I just don't trust him. And I think he threw 2 interceptions last week, I'm pretty sure, even in that blowout win. I like the Seahawks in this game. I do think they bounce back. I think the Seahawks, they've become the masters of the one-score game. Every single game that they're in, even when you think, they're going to blow this team out, nope, it's a one-score game. They always have to figure out a way at the end to win it. And I think that's probably what you're going to get in this one. But I trust Russell Wilson more than I trust Jimmy Garoppolo, and therefore I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, we used that philosophy last week, and it didn't turn it out too well when Kyler Murray beat him in the overtime. But I think it is a very good philosophy to kind of have. And when you're looking at quarterback matchups, you want to side to Russell Wilson. But how bad is the Seattle defense? I mean, they need to get something in. Some defensive help quick. Jamal Adams needs to get healthy. They need some. I mean, listen. They're supposed to be a good team, and they're winning. They're 5-1 with a defense that's on par with the Dallas Cowboys, which is absolutely horrible. And just shows you how good Russell Wilson is. If San Francisco was healthy with a running back core, their running backs have been decimated. I would lean San Francisco right there, but I don't even know if JaMychal Hasty and these guys are going to be able to take advantage of it. Kittle should kill the Seattle secondary. Deebo Samuel's out for San Fran. I think this is just a game where San Fran is just a little bit too banged up to keep running the race with Seattle. I'll take Seattle. I'll lay the 3.
And you're going to have Hasty. I think Hasty's going to be one of the backs in there today, isn't he? I think
JaMychal Hasty. Yeah.
Kittle has averaged with less than 47 receiving yards per game in the 5 games against Seattle, second fewest of anything he's faced multiple times. However, the line is now down to 1.5, and that means the money's coming in on the Niners, and that means that's where the sharp money is. And again, the teams that are 2.5-point dogs are 16-3 against the spread. Based on that, give me the Niners for no other reason than that.
You can wipe your ass with those Kittle numbers because he's never faced this defense that's so bad against Seattle.
That's exactly true. He should. I don't know what the prop is, but based on that, it might be low. Might be some money there. Here's a couple non-competitive football games. So tonight, 8:20 p.m., the Dallas Cowboys bring their 2-5 record to Philadelphia's 2-4-1. Talk about a great Sunday night game. The Eagles are laying 10.5 in this one. Over-unders 43. The Cowboys have not covered a spread all year. Not one, No team has repeated as NFC East champion since the 01 to 04 Eagles. That drought is the longest span for any division in NFL history. Tony, we're Cowboys fans. They should be selling. They're starting a rookie quarterback. The offensive line is a complete disaster. Give me any reason why the Cowboys cover 10.5 points.
Revenge of the Joe Webb game, as far as bringing that to the Eagles fans' memories. I mean, listen, this isn't like you're talking about two football teams that are banged up. They're not healthy. Both are getting a little healthier. I mean, Zach Martin's going to be back. For the Cowboys, I believe Joe Looney's back for the Cowboys. Chidi Uwuzune back from the Cowboys. I think, you're looking at maybe some addition by subtraction when you're talking about losing Dontario Poe and Griffin and Darryl Worley, because now they have to start somebody else. You have to play somebody else. And you might see some hunger on this football team. Is anybody really confident? I mean, Brandon, you're an Eagles fan, and I don't know what happened to Velarde. He kind of disappeared. But is any Eagles fan really confident that the Eagles can actually beat a team by 10.5 points? It's no matter who they are. I mean, they have tied, Cincinnati Bengals. They can play down to their opponent. Cowboys might come out with a little bit of fire because they've been getting disrespected all week. And you also have the X factor of you have no idea what the hell this quarterback is going to do for the Dallas Cowboys. They have to move the pocket. They have to get them on a run. They have to create space for them. And if you look at both sides of the ball, the Cowboys do have more playmakers. Zeke is still in the game. He's the best offensive weapon on both teams. Cooper, Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. They could both touch the ball and take it to the house every time. The Eagles don't really have a player that fits that mold. With that said, the Eagles will win the game. They should win the game. But I'll take Cowboys. Give me the 10.5 points just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I don't see how the Eagles can cover and beat this team by 11 or more points. The offensive line is just so banged up for both teams. But as you mentioned, with Looney and Martin back, the Cowboys have a little bit more stability there. And you should see Ezekiel Elliott have some more success through the first, 5 weeks of the season. Ezekiel Elliott was, one of the most productive backs in football. And he started, he struggled the last couple of weeks without Dak and, with that offensive line deteriorating.
And fumbling. Let's not forget fumbling.
And the fumbling, yeah. But look, I think you see a better game from Zeke. I think the Eagles, they should definitely win this game. But I think it's closer than a lot of people think. I think it's much closer. I just don't see how the Eagles are good enough up front to be able to run the football and grind this thing out even with Boston Scott. I like the Eagles to win. I think it's lower scoring. The Eagles are not good against the running quarterbacks. And we saw Daniel Jones. He should have ran for an 80-yard touchdown last week. And, we saw what happened on that play. They're not very good. But I do like the Eagles to win.
Mike? Yeah, I'm not putting the Eagles in the top three in the elite team anyway. I know Dallas is banged up and they got problems, but I'm taking Dallas again with the 10.5. I just think that they can keep it close. Will they win? I don't think so, but I think they definitely keep it close. Give me Dallas at 10.5.
Tank. Don't care.
Best bet of the day, though. I just released my best bet of the day. I'll give it to you guys here free of charge. Carson Wentz over 1.5 touchdowns.
I like that.
Yep, I like that too. Thanks, Tony.
Now, Mike, we got a little bit of time here. You're the resident Bucs fan. I'm going to you for this one. Tampa Bay 5-2, Giants 1-6. Bucs are laying 12.5. The over/under is 45. Brady never lost to a one-win team in Week 8 or later in his career. Daniel Jones has 34 giveaways since 19. That's the second most. Tampa's defense is good. What's your read?
I like the Bucs in this game. I think 12.5 is a little bit steep, but then again, the Giants, the Giants are at home though. See, that's the thing. I'm going to just take the Bucs, given it's at 12.5. They're playing well. Brady's been playing well, although the Giants, I think can keep this a little bit close. I think maybe they throw the Bucs at the end of the game. I'll put the Bucs in 12.5.
I think we all think the Bucs win. Do they cover? Tony and Brandon.
12.5 is a lot. No Antonio Brown, no Chris Godwin. I'm going to say yes, barely. It's uglier than you expect.
Prime time home dog is like a 66% coverage rate, especially with 12.5. Giants backdoor cover, possibly. Bucks haven't been a team that's actually looking to blow teams out either. And Giants, for as bad as their record is, they've showed some fight. We mentioned it against, I believe it was the Rams. I mean, every game they're fighting, despite no reason to. So they should be fighting for the first pick with the Jets, but they've been fighting and they've been losing. So I'll take Tampa Bay to win the game easy. I'm not betting it or laying it, but primetime home dog, too big of a trend to ignore. Take Giants and the points.
I do like the over. So.
Bucks by 20. Giants don't care.
Here's real quick though. Wait to bet this game because you could probably see this line getting up to 13 and a half by game time.
Very much so. Especially people are winning. They're going to go put it on Monday night. That wraps up week 8 here on the Sunday preview of the Sports Box. I want to thank Tony, Brandon, and Mike for doing the show with us. I want to thank our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the app, Apple App Store, Google Play. Use code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. They got a lot going on for Monday night, so check them out. On behalf of the boys, see you the rest of the week.
It's Tua time.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.